Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever the fuck you're tuning in. This is another episode of Tailgate Trashtalk, brought to you by Backyard Sports. Bentley, how we doing this week? How we feeling after it was a pretty exciting weekend? I think we, from the degenerate side of the house, realized that Vegas has also kind of settled into the college football season.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had some good matchups, a couple upsets. How you feeling after this past weekend?
I feel great. I don't feel as good as my 5-1 Wyoming Cowboys, but
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel pretty good. As we can see, Juice Wells second in voting for the Blitnikoff Award, a guy who has played a quarter of a game this year. So let's go. Keep those votes rolling in, baby.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, you mentioned Wyoming. Fresno State figured out what Texas figured out earlier this year. Them Cowboys ain't no joke up in Laramie.
Yeah, they are 5-1 on the season. Their only loss came at on the road in Austin at Texas.
That's
They
right. They
did,
didn't play in Austin,
yeah.
but they played them tough. That's right.
Yeah, they played them tough. They did sneak one out against App State with a blocked punt return for a touchdown. But hey, 5-1 is 5-1, baby.
Yo.
Put those boys in the top 25.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh man. Hey Dad, how you doing?
Howdy, howdy.
Well, let's jump into it, man. Talk some week 6 results. Talk to me about OU Texas, dude. Big game of the weekend. We talked about it a lot last week. I feel like this game doesn't get the service it probably should. This should be a night game, in my opinion. I think that atmosphere would be great. I love that they were back at the State Fair, though. I love that they were at the Cotton Bowl. I know last week we kind of talked about this being a neutral site, and Jerry's World often hosts this as well because Jerry loves events at Jerry's World. And he does everything he can to attract whatever he can to Jerry's World.
Yep.
I think if I spent 1.6 billion on a stadium, I would try to have as many events as possible in my backyard as well. So that's not a slight toward Jera, but talk to me about this, man. This lived up to the hype. This was two highly ranked teams. I said top 10 last week. I forgot that OU wasn't yet in the top 10 last week. They were number 12, so two top 12 teams.
Yep.
Came down to the last possession. I think I mentioned that last week. I think we both kind of agreed this was going to be a pretty tight game. You laid the points. I took the points with OU. I thought it was going to be a field goal game, and it came down to that at the end. Talk to me about this game, man.
Yeah, we were right saying it was a one-score game. Yeah, I feel like I was on the right side. Quinn Ewers came out and threw back-to-back interceptions on their first two possessions of the game and then had a fumble later in the game. That was not the Quinn Ewers that we've seen every week, week in and week out, right? That was not the Quinn Ewers that went to Tuscaloosa and beat Nick Saban. Very entertaining game, agreed.
Very.
Brooks, their running back, kind of got things rolling, 22 for 129 and a touchdown. Whittingham, their big receiver on the outside, went 10 for 115. They controlled time of possession by almost a full 5 minutes. Like, they deserved to win this game. I came out of this game not feeling like Oklahoma was the better team. I came out of this game saying Texas played a terrible first half. They got things turned around in the second half, and yeah, they gave up that drive at the end, the final possession for Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel played one of the best games of his year, right? His numbers were not incredible on the passing side, but he was the leading rusher for Oklahoma, and he was doing the Patrick Mahomes thing, right? He was just speed of the defender +1, whatever he needs to do to get that first down, keep the drive going. It was back-breaking first downs that he was converting on the ground.
How many times too,
dude? It was crazy.
Third and 5, 3rd and 7. He'd get 6. He'd get 8.
Yep. So I obviously I'm very happy for Oklahoma. I'm not an OU guy. It is 7:06 and OU still sucks, right? But
not our Raul.
Yes. But I do still think, and we'll talk about this later when we get to our totem, I do still think that Texas is the better team. I'm excited, and I pray to God that both these teams are on the table here, that we get a rematch of this in the Big 12 championship game. That is going to be a night game.
Yes.
I can almost assure you that.
Yep.
This game was incredible. The Red River always lives up to the hype. I still feel like 6.5 was the right play on the other side. But, Quinn Ewers makes mistakes. He's 21, right? Like, it happens. I get it. I expect them to bounce back big going down the stretch, though.
Yeah. Big 12 championship will be at Jerry's World, too. So, nighttime atmosphere, big NFL stadium, right? A little more seating capacity in the Cotton Bowl. and modern facility, yada yada. Should be great. Should be great.
For sure.
I have mixed emotion, mixed feeling, mixed takeaways from this game, right? Because as you said, Ewers played poorly, and we talked about it last week that Ewers really is the engine that moves this. He's the quarterback, right? So I know I'm stating the obvious, but maybe more so than some other teams. You look at teams like Bama and you look at Georgia and kind of what they can do. The quarterback's not the straw that stirs the drink, for those kind of teams. Michigan, even Penn State, right? It's that win in the trenches that really moves everything. For Texas, it really is Quinn Ewers. And you mentioned Brooks had a good game. And I know I wrote you a little while back and said, I kind of get the feeling like Texas is starting to get the best running backs in the nation. They had Bijan last year. And we had a stretch, right, where it was like Cedric Benson and Ricky Williams and several, big time backs that came out of Texas. It's starting to feel like they're maybe getting some of those back. But it was the turnovers, man. It was the two picks and the fumble. And without that blocked kick in the first half, they may have been in a big hole.
Yeah.
That really swung. It felt like Oklahoma was about to seize all of the momentum in that game. That really swung it and made it a ball game. Got Texas right back in it, of course, because they recovered it in the end zone, tied the game up at 7. It felt like Oklahoma was going to go up 2 scores, and maybe that was going to be them kind of steamrolling a little. And I know last year we watched a 49-0 drubbing in the Red River game. Dylan Gabriel didn't play, but he was massive.
Yeah.
Honestly, didn't have the big passing numbers as you mentioned, but I don't know that OU's offense, the weapons they have in the, like, they don't have CeeDee Lamb, they don't necessarily have those big time NFL guys on the outside right now. Probably some guys that'll play, but not first round picks. He handled the offense, managed it, moved the ball with his legs. I thought OU's defense played well. I thought both defenses played well in a game that it felt like the offenses were just going to be able to kind of do what they wanted, and turnovers were going to make the difference. And in the end, they did, right? Texas had turnovers. OU had a couple, but not as many as Texas. They won the turnover battle, and it was a one-possession game. And often in those one-possession games, it does come down to that. That last drive, I remember thinking, like, one, I was squad riding with the guys I went to New York to watch the game with. We were on the over. So we were like, Texas needs to score quickly. But then as soon as they scored, I was like, if I'm a Texas fan right now, I think I scored too quickly, right? Left too much time on the clock. You wanted to be able to drain some more. And then OU obviously made him pay. It was such a fun game, though. And this really is what I look forward to every year with the Red River game, the Egg Bowl, and several of these rivalry games in college football. It's what makes college football so beautifully entertaining. These rivalry games just take on so much more than, like, pros. You have these rivalries, but it's not the same. There's not the same passion. There's not the same, like, quote unquote hatred. Maybe in real sense there's hatred in a lot of these rivalries, but, like, from an outsider's perspective, it's like that pseudo I hate these guys, right?
Yep.
This was fun, man. This was fun. It was really entertaining, and being with a bunch of people watching the game together, we were having a good old time watching that game. So I love that this is going to continue in the SEC. We're going to continue to get the Red River games, so that's great. I think the SEC is doing themselves a service by being able to advise or televise the Red River game on either ESPN or maybe we'll see it on SEC Network sometimes as well. So whatever they want to corner the market with, the SEC is the powerhouse, right?
Yep.
Yeah, great game.
If I had told you that Quinn Ewers at one point in this game was going to complete 16 passes in a row and throw for 346 yards, you're telling me that the correct side of that game was not Texas minus 6.5?
Right.
I mean, come on.
It was the turnovers, man. It was the turnovers, and
it was the turnovers, and Oklahoma winning the battle in the trenches the way that Texas did against Alabama. Yep. It was just crazy. I mean, they outgained them on the ground 201 to 156.
Yeah,
like Oklahoma doesn't do that. Like the days of Adrian Peterson, DeMarco Murray are long past, right?
Yeah,
like that, and the way that the Texas offensive line has just been road grading teams this year. And giving a ton of protection for Ewers. I mean, it was shocking to me to see the way that Texas lost the battle of the line of scrimmage on Saturday.
That's another good point you make there, because despite the rushing success that Brooks had, they didn't have that secondary option. Plus, Ewers was kind of under fire. The first pick he threw, he was rushed.
Yeah.
And you felt like he was kind of scrambling for his life, and he made some plays, right, to keep in this game. But you're absolutely right. Like that's not the OU that we necessarily expected. I feel like Venables has kind of got that defense playing much more Venables style football than last year. They were fucking worst in the country last year. But yeah, that was a fun game. And I do, like you, I hope we get it again in the Big 12 championship, because I think it's going to be just as entertaining. And we're going to have two hot teams, because Texas has still got 5, I think, games to run before, or six games to run before that Big 12 championship. So 2 hot teams in the Big 12 championship rivalry game. Sign me up for that, man. And likely for a playoff spot, honestly.
Yeah, Texas has gotten, sorry, not to cut you off.
You're good.
Texas has gotten the quote-unquote difficult games off their schedule. They have no ranked opponents left.
Yeah.
I
believe TCU is probably the toughest one left, right?
Well, Kansas State, that could be tough. But yeah, TCU, and then they host Texas Tech to close out the season. You know, an in-state game, those are always tough. But yeah, the gauntlet of their schedule, the Alabama, the Kansas, Oklahoma, those are all finished already. So I expect them to run the rest of the table.
I think you're right. I would agree. All right. What's another game you want to highlight from this past weekend, man? Talk to me about one of these games that caught your eye.
So we're going to get to maybe the worst coaching decision of all time. We will get there. But if you remember last week, I asked you if you heard what that sound was. And that sound was the Tide rolling and rolling. And boy, I tell you what, Jalen Milroe, we highlighted early in the year. Player development is something that no coach in college football does better than Nick Saban. And Jalen Milroe had very, very real limitations. And he still does. Don't get me wrong. He still has very real limitations. But the offense that they have adapted around him, where everything is short or deep. He does not throw intermediate passes. He throws the ball down the field, or he gives it to the running backs, or he runs the ball. That's their offense. That offensive line is playing so much better than it was early in the season. Milroe went for 321 and 3 touchdowns in this game. They finally found a number 1 receiver. We talked early in the year about how those outside guys are all super young. Yeah, we didn't know who it was going to be. It's going to be Burton, apparently, because he went for 197 and 2 tugs this weekend. Old buddy was cooked.
He raised his hand this weekend.
Yeah, he said, "Coach, sign me up."
Yep. I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yes. They lost the turnover battle, but they won on the road, which is very impressive. That's a very Nick Saban thing to do. Hey, short-term memory. You make a mistake, we move on. We keep going. They went into Texas A&M. They beat those Aggies in the 100,012th men that they had there. I like this Alabama team, man. I like the Alabama team. Now, obviously, Georgia has kind of turned it on here later in the middle stretch of the season. But I think Alabama wins the West. I think they beat LSU. They beat Auburn, right? I'm excited to watch a Georgia-Alabama matchup late in the year, probably for that. Well, it will be for, the title game in Atlanta for the 3rd year in a row now it will be. Probably 4th, right?
Is it 4?
I don't know. It'll be 3 or 4. Whatever it's going to come out to be. I'm excited for that. I again expect Alabama to run the table, to roll the Tide all the way down there to Alabama and play for another SEC title game. And who knows, man? One game, one night, anything can happen.
Yeah, for sure. This felt like a game that if Bama was riding the ship, they needed to handle A&M. And it ended up a 1-score game, but they started to play some bully ball. You mentioned the offensive line, how much better they're playing. If that is going to be the case the rest of the way, it's probably a 2-horse race. Bama's probably going to run the table, and we'll see them playing Georgia down in I believe it's in the Mercedes-Benz Dome this year, right? So,
Alabama got the ball back with 2 minutes and 11 seconds to go and didn't give the ball back to Texas A&M. That's a team that knows
saving ball.
Yeah, like a bad team gives that ball back with 2:10 to go, right? Like a bad team doesn't get the first downs necessary to close out that game.
Yep, for sure.
Alabama's not a bad team.
Look out, because as you put it last week, that's the Tide, and it's rolling.
That's Dallas Turner heating it up on the edge, baby. That defensive line coming to life. Dallas Turner, remember the name.
Yep. Hey, let's talk SEC still. All right. I want to talk about Georgia, Kentucky, because I had a brief conversation similar to what you and I talked about last week. I had a brief conversation with one of the guys that I was watching the Texas OU game with, and he kind of echoed something we said, right? Georgia, if you were going to get them, you probably wanted to get them early in the year. They're going to figure it out. They're probably going to start to play really good ball now. And I bought into Kentucky and how physical they played and how gettable I thought Georgia kind of looked the last 4 or 5 weeks. Georgia comes out and squashes that thought the first half.
Yep.
Smashed Kentucky. You see Georgia, they're starting to really play that Georgia football we've seen in the repeat championships of the last 2 years. Starting to see the playmakers make their way. Beck's playing better. That passing game starting to complement some of the skill guys they have in the backfield. And the defense is starting to look like they're gelling. And we saw the question marks, right? Is this Georgia defense as good? Because they lost so much talent over the last 2 years. Starting to see them gel. Is this a sign for you that reaffirms why Georgia's number one on both of our totems?
Yeah. You said it there, right? You wanted to get them early in the year.
Yeah.
We saw South Carolina hold them to 3 points in the first half.
Yep.
They only lost by 10. That was in week 3.
Yep.
We kind of had questions, right? Georgia learned from that. Carson Beck was Mr. Football in the state of Florida for a reason. He's a 5-star recruit for a reason. The guy's figuring it. This is his first year starting in college football, big-time college football. He's figuring it out, right? He threw for 389 and 4 touchdowns in this game. They have the best player in college football not named Caleb Williams in Brock Bowers, the tight end, the all-world everything. Went for 7 for 132 and a touchdown. He has like 400 yards in their last 3 games and like 4 touchdowns. I mean, the guy –
he just passed a Georgia legend on the touchdown mark. He just passed AJ Green as well. Mm-hmm. That's how good Brock Bowers is.
Yeah,
if you don't know his name, you better figure it out before next year when you're watching tear up NFL defenses.
He is all everything.
Everything.
He blocks. He catches.
Yep.
You can hand him the ball. He's better after he gets the ball than before he gets the ball, and he might be the best route runner in college football.
Yep.
I mean, this Georgia team was a sleeping giant coming into the year, and that's coming off back-to-back national titles, right? Everybody talks about losing
how much
like
they lost.
15 players to the NFL and defense, whatever. I get it. They have maybe the second best coach in college football behind Saban, because as I've stated many times, I'm not ready to knock him down. It was only a matter of time before they got one of these teams.
Yeah.
Kentucky may be a fraudulent ranked team.
Maybe.
They were very, very impressive week prior. But they came into a no-win situation, a night game. Georgia's trying to get their offense like really, really rolling, and they took advantage of that home crowd. And I've had them number one in my totem for a reason all year long. Yep. They are as good as advertised, if not better.
Yeah, man, Brock Bowers it's unbelievable to watch him play. You mentioned it, right? He can block, great route runner. He's big, strong. Mm-hmm. He will out physical you to the ball. Yep. When the ball's in the air. And oh, by the way, when you get the ball in his hands, he's a dominator. And I don't want to take it too far and like overhype and act like I'm, trying to overhype somebody, but like he feels like maybe the most complete hybrid. Are you going to play him at tight end? Are you going to put him on the end of the line? You probably could. Are you going to split him out? He feels a lot like if you mixed like Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski.
Sure.
Because the one knock on Kelsey's always been he's not a good blocker, right? He's not a good inline blocker. Well, Gronk was. Gronk was good with the ball in his hands, but he wasn't that guy that could make you miss, right? Kelce is that guy. Brock Bowers can kind of do all of that. And, oh, by the way, one of the best route runners in college football. So somebody's going to get him in the NFL, somewhere in the top 5, top 10. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is scaring teams off of taking tight ends that high, but this guy's the real deal. And you line him up as kind of a hybrid guy. You can split him out. You can put him on the end of the line. You can bring him in the backfield. Georgia does that all the time.
Yep.
He's kind of the Swiss Army knife. He's, as you put it, all everything. He's unbelievable. And
he's like a Debo.
Oh, my God. He really is. He really is. Maybe not quite the top-end speed of Debo Samuel, but
sure.
All everything.
Yep.
All everything. But, yeah, it felt like this weekend, this is Georgia the first week of the season that we can really say, because they struggled against Auburn. There was a real chance they could have lost that game against Auburn. There was a real chance they could have lost that game against South Carolina. This is really the first week where I can say, okay, they're not playing an inferior opponent like a UAB. Yes, Kentucky is inferior to Georgia. Don't twist that. But
sure,
this is an SEC foe. This is an undefeated SEC foe coming into the game. And this is a Kentucky team that was very impressive the week prior. Georgia said, not so fast, to quote Lee Corso. So,
yep, not so fast, my friend.
We are still the bully of the SEC East.
Georgia also held the ball for 15 minutes longer than did Kentucky. And that's a team, Kentucky, who loves to run that clock.
Run it.
Hold the ball, possession.
Yep.
Ray Davis, the guy who went for 280 last weekend, went for 59 this week. I mean, it's the old Belichick saying, right? What's your best weapon? We're going to take that out.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry, bud.
Yep, absolutely.
15 minutes. Georgia outgained Kentucky 608 to 183 yards. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. If I can make one knock against Georgia, in years prior, they have dominated the turnover battle. They're not doing that this year.
Yeah.
They didn't have a single turnover.
Yeah.
But when you have freaking 21 more first downs than the other team, not sure it really matters all that much.
You can give the ball away once or twice, maybe, and worry about cleaning it up when you face Bama.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man. One game I want to talk about before we get to the absolute fucking debacle of mismanaging an end game is Notre Dame Louisville, man. And I'm going to eat a little crow here, and I'm going to say I haven't been a believer all year in Louisville. I thought they were kind of a paper tiger, overrated. I thought it was that whole ACC bias we often see with Louisville, and I thought Notre Dame was going to put it on them and win by probably 10 to 13 points. Incorrect. Very, very incorrect.
Yep.
Louisville is really good on defense. That defense is fast. That defense is physical, and they really took it to Notre Dame. And for everybody else in the ACC, looking at you, Florida State, potentially down the line, especially Florida State, because we've kind of got them in our totem, right? This Louisville team is not to be trifled with, not to be looked past, not to be overlooked. UNC, Florida State, Louisville, those three teams that sit right now at the top of the ACC, this Louisville team is not to be trifled with. They've got a good, probably, transfer quarterback running the show on offense. The offense isn't what's going to sow the oats for them this year. It's that defense. Despite what we've seen in the past from a Jeff Brown run offense, that they've been really high-powered offense and not good on defense, this defense is fucking for real.
Yep.
Ooh.
They turned Notre Dame over 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Hartman threw 3 picks and had 2 lost fumbles.
Yeah, and that's like a 9th-year starter.
Yeah, that was a guy that we all were giving his flowers before the year even started, right?
Yep.
That's a guy that we said had seen everything there was to see in college football.
Except
guess
this
what,
Louisville
buddy?
Defense.
Except this Louisville defense. Also, fun note about Louisville, their quarterback you mentioned, Jack Plummer, not related to Jake Plummer.
No.
Didn't know that.
I thought when I first heard his name in week 1, because I've caught like 3 Louisville games prior to this week, and that's why I kept saying, like, they don't look that good. I thought honestly it was like Jake's kid. I had to look it up.
Yeah.
But it's not. So
thought it was the Arch Manning going on here.
Yeah,
his uncles
exactly.
or whatever.
That's what I figured. But
Nope.
It's not.
Nope, not at all.
No.
Yeah,
Right.
that game was crazy, man.
It was.
Kudos to Louisville. Good for them, dude.
Yeah.
That was like
Absolutely.
they do have a sort of tough schedule going on the stretch, right?
Yeah.
They host Duke. They go to Miami, which we're about to talk about here in a second. And then they host Kentucky. So they get Kentucky at home. And as you mentioned, their defense is very, very good.
Yep.
There's a chance that Louisville could run this table, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if Duke's quarterback is not right, if Riley Leonard's not right still for that game, now it's not till the end of the month, right? He has 18 days to be prepared for that. If they can run this table, who's to say they can't beat Florida State, right? That defense is real.
Yeah.
That defense is real. They're very, very fast, like you said.
Yep. And, not to spoil too much, but I almost took Florida State out of my totem completely this week because I'm starting to feel like they're living dangerously. They're living very dangerously. And we might see Florida State do what Florida State has done in the past and drop a game they shouldn't drop or make a bunch of mistakes in a game. So for Florida State fans' sake, I hope not. But it feels that way over the last probably 3 weeks. So
can I give you one more before we get to Miami?
Yes.
Washington State, UCLA.
Yes.
I told y'all that UCLA's defense was for real. Yeah. Now, I thought that Washington State's offense would be better, right? I thought that if you had given me odds that this would go to overtime, I probably would have taken it, right? I know that's easy to say, whatever, past tense.
Yep.
We looked it up today. UCLA has like a top 3 total defense in college football.
Yep.
Yeah, like scoring, third down, red zone, all that stuff, right?
Yep.
They are for real. Their edge rusher, Latu, that guy who briefly retired from college football because of a neck injury, is going to be a top 10, top 15 draft pick in the NFL, right? That man is a monster. He made Cam Ward's life hell.
Yep.
And Cam Ward is a freak on the offensive side of the ball. That guy does anything he wants. Except for this weekend. They scored 17 points.
And we were talking earlier, too. Like, this is, like, very anti-Chip Kelly, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Chip Kelly's always been high-powered offense. Good edge rushers on defense, but gave up a lot of points, right? Yep. He put a lot of edge rushers in the NFL, if you remember him from his days at Oregon. But this is different. This is a physical, hard-hitting, athletic defense that complements each other at all 3 levels, too. It's not just Latu, who is a fucking animal.
Yeah.
They've got guys, dudes, at all 3 levels on that defense, and Cam Ward found out this weekend. I found out this weekend because I thought competition, were they a little bit overrated? Nope, they weren't overrated at all. They made Cam Ward look human, and he's not human.
Just a couple of, like, interesting takeaways, right? UCLA had the ball for 38 minutes of this game and only scored 25 points. They had the ball for 38 minutes, and their quarterback only completed 50% of his passes. That's tough to do.
It's very tough. It helps. They had a lot of success running the ball, though.
Yes, it helps that they held Washington State to, get ready, 12 rushing yards on 19 attempts.
With one of the best rushing quarterbacks in college football.
Like, that's incredible, man. That's wild. Absolutely incredible. Without a home field advantage, too.
Very impressive performance. Yeah, you mentioned it. On the road. All the way up there in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, for sure.
Well, they played at UCLA, but there's no home field advantage.
Oh, that's
in the Rose Bowl.
I'm an idiot. You were making a joke and I blew it. And
sorry.
You said that and I was like, yeah, they played at Washington State. No, they didn't. They played at home.
That's a very different game. I think that's a very different game if they play at Wazoo.
Yeah.
But true freshman quarterback for UCLA. I mean, again, he only completed 50%. It's not like he's lighting the world on fire, but I believe he was a 5-star recruit coming out. I expect him to be very good in that Chip Kelly system going forward. Probably next year and the year after, right? But he struggled. He didn't play great. He threw 2 picks. But that defense, you said it about Utah early in the year. The defense is suffocating. Yeah, this UCLA defense, suffocating, and they will hit the shit out of you.
Yeah. They fly all over the fucking field, man.
They're really, really impressive.
I couldn't believe that game the way it played out. I did not. I thought if they were going to win, it was going to be, like a 28-27, something along that. Not like suffocate Cam Ward at Washington State.
Yeah,
because he's not human. He was this weekend though.
Yep.
All right, let's tear this fucking Band-Aid off, man. So Miami comes into this game as a 21.5-point favorite against Georgia Tech in Coral Gables.
Yep.
Facing off against a Georgia Tech team who got boat raced last week. And if you forgot, they didn't play Clemson. They didn't play Florida State. They didn't play UNC. They didn't play Duke. They played Bowling Green.
Yep.
And lost by 20.
Yep.
And they come into this game, and Miami keeps them in the game with fucking turnover. Tyler Van Dyke threw, I think, 4 picks was the final number for him. He looked like shit. It was wet. 3. Okay. It was wet. He might have had a fumble. Maybe it was 4 total. Whatever it was. He turned the ball over fucking like crazy. It was wet. fine. Maybe he's got baby hands. Maybe he's got Kenny Pickett hands. I don't fucking know. But he was hitting Georgia Tech defenders in fucking stride all night. They battle, and they get a lead late, and they've got the ball with a chance to run the clock out. And they hand it off.
Yep.
In the most fundamental situation in all of football, the situation that every coach wants to be in at the end of a game. We just line up, we get in victory formation, you touch your knee to the ground, and we go home.
Yep.
Instead, Mario Cristobal lines his offense up in the pistol formation. Tyler Van Dyke turns around, runs the risk of fumbling by handing it off to his running back. They complete that successfully. The running back goes through the line, gets a 2.5-yard gain. I don't know what the fuck that even did for them, and fumbles on his way to the ground. And then Miami blows 4 Miami defenders were trailing the wide receiver who finally caught the touchdown. And he's just running fucking screaming down the field by himself. They get everything they deserve because what the fuck are you doing handing it off? In Cristobal's defense, he always does this. I don't know why he always does this. He's gotten away with it in the past. Didn't get away with it this weekend.
Nope.
Talk to me, bud. Talk to me about what the fuck went on at Coral Gables this weekend.
So with 1:18, it's 2nd and 12. And Georgia Tech just used their last timeout.
Yeah, they're out of timeouts.
So there are 118 seconds
118
seconds left. There are 40 seconds to a play clock.
78. Sorry.
Yeah, excuse me. There are 78 seconds left on the clock. That is 3 plays. 2 plays.
2.
That's 2 plays.
40-second play clock. All you do.
So that is 2. That is 2 knees. Man, we are good at math.
Yeah, we're fucking all up tonight.
That is 2. I'm looking at a shitload of numbers on my screen here, right? So
I'm not making excuses. I just fucked it up.
2nd and 12. What do? Do you take a knee? Let's run it again for 2-yard gain. Okay, whatever. Cool. Got it. You're trying to get your running back to 100 yards. Whatever. Why? You're a 19-point favorite. You probably should just hang it up. Take the win. Nope. 34 seconds left. 3rd and 10. Hand the ball off again. 4-yard run. Fucking fumbles. On the Georgia Tech 26. There are 25 seconds left in the game, and Georgia Tech has no timeouts.
And they've got to go 74 yards. That math is correct.
They completed 2 passes and scored a touchdown. What are we doing? This is the most asinine coaching decision I have ever heard of. Ever. Twitter sleuths went back and found that Cristobal never takes knees. He has done this at Miami. He did it at Oregon. He's done it prior to that. This man is allergic to the hear me out, victory formation. It's in the fucking name. Take a knee and you win. I don't understand why he's doing this. They were a ranked 4-1 team playing a conference opponent. Take the win, Mario. What are you? It is the most conceited, self-centered move I think I've ever heard in the coaching ranks. Take a knee and then got it. Understood. You want to get your yards? Cool. This is what you do. You don't take knees. Don't give up 2 plays for 74 yards. Hey, defense. Put your heels on R25 and don't fucking move.
Worst case, you go to overtime if they kick a long field goal.
That's what I'm saying.
Worst case.
They're on their own 36. Fuck it. Put your heels on the 50 and don't move. Like, don't let anyone behind you. I don't understand. It was the single worst coaching decision I have ever seen in my entire life watching football. There is literally no explanation for it at all. And then the worst, they got the ball back with 2 seconds left, fumbled on the kick return. Now, I think it was hook and lateral, whatever, but it goes down as a fumble in the stat sheet, which is just icing on top of the cake because a fumble cost you the game because you made the worst coaching decision ever.
Yep.
You win this game, you run the table, you have a chance to make the playoff as a one-loss ACC champion.
They were undefeated coming into the game.
Right. They were 4-0 coming into the game. Right.
Yeah.
Now they're 4-1.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Fucking,
My apologies.
Like, come on.
But
you're fucking undefeated and you're going to take a chance with your undefeated season by fucking handing the ball off?
Unreal. Unreal. And they did have 5 turnovers in the game. Obviously, it was a very, very ugly game for Miami. They never should have been this close. They should have blown out Georgia Tech. Which, if you follow the circle, and I should have written this down, but if you follow the circle and loop of teams, Georgia Tech lost to a team who lost to a team who lost to Miami of Ohio, who, if we go all the way back to before the season even started, there was a whole Twitter war going around where Miami of Ohio said they were the real Miami. And Miami, obviously the Hurricanes were like, no, we are. Well, joke's on you, bud.
Yeah.
Miami of Ohio beat a team who beat a team who beat a team who beat Georgia Tech, who just beat you. Go Red Falcons.
I love that. I do love that a city or town or university in Ohio has to say Miami of Ohio and then tries to say we're the real Miami.
Do you think Ben Roethlisberger texted Ed Reed after this game?
Oh, we own you. We're the real Miami.
Oh God, I would pay money to watch.
Man.
To watch
I wish that was a Twitter hit. That would be so good.
Oh man, Ben has a podcast now. Maybe he should get Ed Reed on.
Maybe he did say something on the podcast.
Oh my God, I would die a happy man if I could watch them FaceTime after that game. Just be like, hey bud, remember when you said you're the real Miami?
Yeah.
This was a big weekend for teams who we like to say are back.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, Miami, Texas, to not be back.
Not be back.
To not be back.
To really not be back.
Yep.
Ugh.
That was insanity. No excuse.
No, I just don't understand it either. Like you can't tell me as a coach, like your thought process is not just like you said, it's self-centered, it's greedy, right? But like you got an opportunity to just take some knees, bro.
Yep.
Just take some knees.
Just take the knees, win the game.
Christ.
Shout out Haynes King, former Texas A&M quarterback.
Yes.
I count that as another win for the SEC over the ACC.
That was a big time throw too. On the run, hit him on the money so he could keep in stride. The Miami defenders probably weren't ever going to catch him anyway because they blew the coverage so fucking bad. But it was a good throw, good play. Stayed with it. Never say die. Get after it. I also kind of blame it. I blame it a little bit on Miami. They wore those sick all black uniforms they have. I love those unis.
But the numbering is like lime green.
It's hard.
Why not just go orange, bro? Like
orange and outline it with lime green, or lime green and outline it with orange. Maybe I don't know something.
No, get rid of the lime green. The lime green is awful. Hate the lime
fair.
green. Get rid of the lime green. Go orange and outline it in white. Call it a day. Use the green for the helmet, like your actual Miami
color combo on those unis, though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Minus the lime.
Minus the lime.
Yep.
Those helmets are nice.
Also, before we get to next week's games, shout out Caleb Williams, triple overtime, finding a way to get it done. They struggled a lot versus Arizona, but I think
shout out Arizona, who is without their starting quarterback and still playing very, very well.
Yep.
It's Fatiti, I believe, is the name of the quarterback playing right now. I always mess it. It's Fatiti or Fatita. I can't remember if it's an I on the end or an A, but he played fucking so well.
Yep.
Against a bad USC defense. Let's not pretend, but he's been great for 2 straight weeks. Arizona's been in games they shouldn't have been in. So
Noah Fafita, true freshman.
Fafita, that's what it is.
Fafita. Yep.
Fafita.
Shout out him.
But yeah, I mean they thought they had their guy in Delora to start the season, and this Fafita guy's he's playing well. So we'll see. One of them might be in the transfer portal after the year.
Yeah, I can't believe at any time that Caleb Williams throws the ball 25 times, that's a win for the other team.
Oh fuck yeah, it is.
Like, especially going up 17-0 and then holding him to 25 pass attempts, like that. That's a win for Arizona. Now they did dominate time of possession, right? 35 to 24 minutes, but I just shout out Arizona, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out Arizona.
What a game.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears. Week 7. A lot of big numbers on the slate this week, but we've got a couple interesting matchups. I want to start about halfway down the page with a big time top 10. And I know it's top 10 this week, unlike the one I said last week. Number 8 versus number 7, Oregon versus Washington. Up in the Great Pacific Northwest, Washington is hosting Oregon. 3-point favorite for Washington. Is that number fair, for one? Because we've seen Oregon really hang some shit on some good teams. Is that number fair? And 2, you're laying the points just like I am. Talk to me about why.
Yeah. 2 words for you. I guess 4 words, technically. Michael Penix and Rome Odunze.
Yeah.
You come into a game, they're going to score 40, right? Unless they play Arizona or they only score 31. But typically, they're scoring 40. You come to this game, we got to score 41 to win, right? Like that's how that works against Washington. Michael Penix, we came into the year talking about him, saying this is a guy he's a great college quarterback. The story of determination and player development. Blew out his knees at Indiana. I believe he got hurt his first year at Washington as well, right? But he's trying to get Washington back to the playoff where we saw them in there the very first year with John Ross and From transferred from Georgia?
Locker.
Was it Locker? Really? Okay. Regardless, that was a long time ago, and I'm an idiot.
Oh, From for Georgia? Yeah, From was the quarterback of Georgia.
Yeah, he transferred from Georgia to Washington.
From did?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
almost positive.
No, you're right. Locker was fucking like 3 years before the playoffs started. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Either way, Penix is trying to get them back to that point, and he's doing a damn good job. I think he's going to end up in New York as a Heisman finalist. If I had to guess, I would say him, Caleb Williams, or Brock Bowers, but we know it's a quarterback award. Yeah. And if Bo Nix goes out and runs the table at Oregon, he probably goes there as well. I am so excited to watch this game. I just love the way that Washington plays offense, man. And their defense is good enough, I think, to cause problems for, Oregon and Bo Nix. I believe Washington could do enough in the run game to kind of balance the offense, right? If they can control that clock while still getting the explosive downfield plays that they're required to score, because their red zone offense is not wonderful. They're a big play kind of team, right? So if they're able to balance running between the 20s as well as hitting those deep shots and scoring touchdowns, I think they could score enough points to outlast the Oregon team. But yeah. I could be wrong. I've been wrong, probably once or twice before in my life.
Jake's the right name. It's actually somebody I brought up last week. Yes, it's actually somebody I brought up last week. From did finish at Georgia. JT Daniel is the one that transferred from Georgia. I was thinking of him transfer all over the fucking place. But anyway, we're
he's at Rice now, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
he's gone progressively down in terms of
played at West Virginia.
Pedigree. Yeah, he went from Georgia, USC to Georgia to West Virginia down to fucking Rice now.
Yep.
He's taken full advantage of grandfathered into the unlimited transfer portal.
Yes. Good for him.
Jake Browning, though. Yeah, and actually I tangentially brought him up last week on the podcast for the NFL podcast because I challenged anybody and their grandmother to name the backup quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I even looked it up the Sunday before that show and forgot who it was.
Oh, my.
But yeah, this game, excited. This is going to be – I'm taking the over. 67, like that's a disrespectful number to both these offenses.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is humming with that Oregon offense. And I have 5 words for you on why I'm laying the points. Michael Penix is a surgeon. This offense is precise.
Yep.
The struggles against Arizona's pluckier than I think we gave them credit for prior to that game because we just saw them do it against USC as well. I think both these offenses are just going to go up and down the field. This is going to be electric. If you can tune into one game this weekend and it can't be your favorite team, this is the game to tune into for sure. Penix and Nix are going to go back and forth. Odunze is a stud. They've got playmakers, and Penix is just making the right decisions all up and down the field. This is going to be fun. I think this game gets in the 80s, might even touch 90s. Honestly, this could be like a 49-47 type game. Maybe we get some overtime. That'd be great. I love when games go to overtime because we get more football, especially for good teams. But yeah, this is going to be a fun one for sure.
Maybe like a 49-45 game. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, the cover. Yeah,
we're going to cover. We're going to cover. Yeah, way to catch me on that. I'm going to pass the buck to you, man. What's a game you want to talk about from this week?
So I've got my eye on Texas A&M and Tennessee. Mm-hmm. I know I'm just an all-time SEC homer, and I'm okay with that.
Ain't no shame in that.
Tennessee is coming off of a bye week, after which they boat raced my South Carolina Gamecocks, right? So typically when a team comes off a boat race like that in a big emotional game, revenge for Hooker, all that stuff, it's what we like to call a trap game.
Yep.
Their trap game was a bye week. Conversely, A&M is coming off a very emotional game because Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, that's always a big game, right? A&M hates Alabama. They always get up for that game. They lost it.
Jimbo and Saban are famously mortal enemies.
Yes. That's a polite way to put that. But this game, so like when a team comes off a very emotional loss, we like to talk about a bounce back game, right? So this is what I like to describe as a bounce back spot for Texas A&M and not a trap game for Tennessee. And it's at Tennessee. So I really like Tennessee in this spot because I think they're the better team. I'm taking the points. It's 3.5. However, it would not shock me if A&M comes in and kind of bullies around Tennessee. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm taking the points. I'm buying the hook. I would not be shocked, however, if this is a one-score game.
Yeah, I'm taking the points because I think it's going to be a one-score game either way. One of these teams is going to win by a field goal, right? Mm-hmm. So give me 3 and a hook. If it was 2 and a hook, I may consider this a little tighter, right, in terms of taking Tennessee potentially. I'll counter what you said about not being a trap game because of the bye week last week. They play Bama next week. So I look at it as potentially a trap game looking ahead to Bama, plus A&M coming off a very emotional loss. Could be a bounce-back game for them. That's why I'm going to take the points. I think it's going to be tight. Gun to my head if I've got to pick a winner. Flip a coin, right? I think it's going to be that tight. Give me A&M by 2, right? Give me A&M in a slight upset by 2, but I do think it's going to come down last possession. Someone's going to have the ball with a chance to win, and whether or not they make that field goal is going to make the difference.
Sure.
All right. I'm looking at Notre Dame USC. Let's talk a little bit about this game because this is an historic rivalry. This is one of those games that you love it because Notre Dame doesn't have a conference. They never have, right?
Yep.
And they, continue to say we'll never join a conference full time. They've kind of got an allegiance with the ACC, but they keep this game on their slate along with a couple others outside of the ACC games that they play. 3-point favorite for Notre Dame. I was surprised by that number, and I'm curious your thoughts on that because
I've got 2.5
or 2.5. Sorry, you're right. 2.5. What did I put on this? It was 3. Okay, we'll call it 2.5.
Well, currently on ESPN, it's sitting at 2.5.
Yep, I see it now on ESPN. I'm not sure if it shifted and they updated. Usually ESPN's not that current. I probably fucked it up. 2.5-point favorite, Notre Dame. Still, though, I was surprised they were a favorite. So talk to me about why you think they're a favorite.
Same. Home field. That's what it is. It's a home night game. Unfortunately, it's going to be on Peacock.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. Might have to do that free 30-day trial or something just because I'm trying to ingest all of the Caleb Williams football that I can.
Yeah.
I
think I could be wrong, but I think that the games that are streaming on Peacock are free.
Oh, perfect.
Because there is a free sign-up feature, but don't quote me on that 100%, but I think that the games that are streaming, there's like premium on-demand content that's behind the paywall.
Yeah.
But I believe that just having an NBC account and signed up for Peacock, I think the games.
Get you the games. Nice.
I think so. I
know the Pac-12 does that.
Yeah.
You can watch Pac-12 Network games for free.
Yep.
Yeah, so I really just chalk this up to being home field advantage. This is probably a pick-em on a neutral site.
Yeah.
They're playing at Notre Dame at night. Caleb Williams is the best player on either team. He's the best player in college football. So you give him the nod of the half point because typically home field is like a 3-point swing, right? Is Notre Dame looking to bounce back? Their season is kind of over at this point. They don't have a chance to make the playoff
Playing for pride.
unless. But if there ever was a year for them to make the playoff, it would be this year, right?
That's actually fair. That's very fair.
Who knows what's going to happen? You know what I'm saying?
Good games left on their schedule too.
Yeah, like who knows, honestly? But I'm not saying they're going to lay down and roll over. But Caleb Williams just has a way of kind of taking the soul out of teams. I believe did I take Notre Dame? I honestly forgot. I did. Okay, I took Notre Dame, and I can justify why I took Notre Dame, right?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. You took USC. I took Notre Dame.
Okay, so I took USC. I'm taking USC solely based off the fact that they can score the most points in the country.
Yep,
that's my reasoning. Notre Dame's defense has not been impeccable. They gave up a bunch of points to Louisville. They like to play defense with 10 men on the field sometimes. It's very strange.
In crucial moments.
Yeah, to be fair, so does Southern Cal. They did that twice against Arizona. It wasn't a good look, but that's kind of a Lincoln Riley special, is being bad on defense. Estime is probably going to run for like 200 yards, but Caleb Williams will probably pass for like 400 yards. I'm excited. I think this will be a lot of fun. Any game with Caleb Williams in it is fun, right? And Sam Hartman he's still a good quarterback. He just kind of got trounced on last week by Louisville. Give me Notre Dame, give me Southern Cal on the road. I think Caleb Williams kind of puts the country on notice, saying, "Hey, we've struggled, but we're still undefeated, and we're here for a reason."
I'm going the other way for a lot of the reasons that you kind of alluded to during your analysis of Lincoln Riley, especially, right? They don't play defense, and they don't even pretend to try to play defense. It is like, I understand when you don't have the talent, maybe you don't focus on recruiting on the defensive side of the ball, which is Lincoln Riley's specialty. At Oklahoma, they always just tried to outscore people as well. But it's lack of effort a lot of times with USC, especially like watching this weekend against Arizona. There were times when guys were just kind of running by themselves and like dudes faked like they were trying to tackle. It's bad. It's really bad. And Estime is a fucking man, and he's going to punish this defense.
Yep.
If Notre Dame can find a way to do what Arizona did and kind of stymie Caleb Williams a couple of times during this game, I think Notre Dame can really win a shootout by a field goal and give me, a 38-34 type game. And I think they're going to cover the 3. They're going to cover the 2 and a hook, right? Which is what it's at live right now. I don't trust USC's defense. I was in big time early in the year, had them in my totem all the way up until this week. I'm out now because of what I watched this past weekend against a plucky Arizona team, but an Arizona team that USC really should have squashed.
Yep.
And they couldn't. So
that's fair.
Give me Notre Dame running the ball really well against a very, very bad, very, very porous USC defense.
I just want you to double check that and think about what you're saying. You're picking Notre Dame to win a big night game.
Oh, God damn it. You caught me.
I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there. That's all I'm saying.
That's a good
Notre Dame, big night game.
That's a good point. You caught
me. Tale as old as time. I'm just saying.
Just saying. Anything left on the slate you want to talk about?
Yeah, Arizona, Washington State, man. We've been giving Arizona all this credit, and we're talking about how Washington State played really poorly last week on the road. But now they're going back to Wazoo. They're getting Arizona coming in. Arizona's hot. I know they've lost, but they're hot, right? They're playing very well. They got this freshman quarterback. Look for Cam Ward to bounce back in a big way, though. That's what I have going for this game. I think that Washington State offense gets back on track. Cam Ward probably rights the ship and gets them heading in the right direction. He only has 2 interceptions on the year to 14 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is incredible. I don't know what else there is to say about Cam Ward. I love the guy. He's one of the most fun college players to watch. Look for him to get back on track.
Yeah, for sure. I'm taking the points. I mentioned to you earlier, I'm taking the points in a lot of games this week, which scares me because I'm not typically a guy that likes underdogs very much in low numbers, but it felt like there were some really big numbers this week, 30-some here and 40-some there. I'm taking the points in this one. Maybe I'm buying Arizona high, and that might be a mistake, but I like what I saw from them last week. I like what I've seen from them the last 2 weeks, but especially last week against a USC team that they really should have been outclassed against. They put them tough, and they had a realistic chance to win that game against USC. I do think Washington State wins this game, but I'm not counting Arizona out in this game. So give me a one-score game here. Another one that we differ on. You're UNC. I've got Miami plus 3.5. Really depending on the weather, because Tyler Van Dyke showed me last week he can't play in the rain.
Yep.
I like Miami bouncing back, maybe taking offense to some of the shit everybody's been giving Mario Cristobal this week. I do think Miami's a super talented team. They played a terrible game last week. Maybe I'm just buying a bounce back game.
I hate North Carolina.
I know you do.
Chapel Hill is one of my least favorite places on earth.
And a South Carolina fan, so I get it.
I hate North Carolina.
Can't stand anything over there in Chapel Hill.
But the only thing I want to happen this weekend, if nothing, obviously I want South Carolina to beat Florida. If I get every pick incorrect, I want North Carolina to be up by 4 with 35 seconds to go and take a knee.
Yes.
Please, for the love of God, that's all I want
and
to happen.
And then look over at Mario and be like, you see what we just did?
That's all I want to happen this weekend. I want Drake May to take a knee and then throw up the double burst to the Miami side. Please, dear God. That's all I want.
That would be great.
The night slate is loaded this weekend.
It is. Oh my
I know we're
God.
running short on time, but the night slate
we
is
were
loaded.
talking about that earlier. Like, there's 5 games kicking off from 7 to 8 o'clock, and they are fucking all really good games.
Yeah, that's last week's.
That's last week's. Yep. So
yeah,
I mean, we've got Auburn LSU is always a knockdown drag out game. SU Notre Dame, Miami UNC, Mizzou Kentucky should be a great game.
Yeah,
and then we finish off with UCLA, Oregon State.
Yep. And
Duke. Hopefully Riley Leonard is okay. We'll see if he even plays this weekend. But yeah, loaded night slate.
And there's only one late night game. It's San Diego State at Hawaii. So it's an early night for the boys.
Yeah. Because I'm not staying up to watch that game.
Nope.
Love college football, but I'm not staying up to watch the Aztecs versus the Rainbow Warriors.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's finish up with Totem here, buddy.
Yep.
So a little bit of a shakeup for both of us. So you move Ohio State in after Texas is lost. You keep Texas in your top 6.
Yep.
I had the asterisk last week with Texas and Oklahoma, and I said the winner was going to be in my playoff spot. Georgia and Penn State held serve for me. Georgia and Michigan held serve for you. It feels like Michigan's finally starting to bully people. You move Florida State into your top 4.
Yep.
No, you had them in your top 4 last week. I moved Florida State out of my top 4. Oklahoma at 3. I finally made a decision on the Pac-12. But you've got Washington and Texas. Talk to me about Texas. Why'd you keep them at 6?
For the reasons I laid out when we were talking about the game, I think Texas is a better team than what they played on Saturday. I think that they're one of the 6 best teams. Again, wouldn't shock me if they're a 1-loss conference champion that gets in the playoff.
Sure.
If they trounce Oklahoma in a Big 12 championship game, and then some other pieces fall the way that they need Texas to, I could see Texas still making the playoff, kind of off of brand recognition, but I think they'd be deserving.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I have a trivia question for you.
Awesome.
Since you moved Michigan out of your top 4,
I never had them in the top 4. I moved them into my top 6 though.
Fair enough. Whatever. They're not in your playoff right now.
They're not.
So they've played 6 games? I think the number was 690 defensive snaps this year, something like that, right? Probably less, actually. Probably like 590.
Okay.
Of those, we'll just call it an even 600. Doesn't really matter for this stat. Of those snaps, how many first and goals has Michigan faced this year?
It ain't many. They've been fucking unreal defensively. We were looking at UCLA earlier, and Michigan was on the same screen through all those. First and goal.
Yep.
I'm trying to think.
Don't think too hard.
I think it's 0, to be honest.
0 first and goal defensive snaps.
I'm trying to think if Rutgers got a first and goal at all against them, but they didn't.
Nope.
0. That's
0 first and goals.
That's fucking dominant.
Yep.
That makes me question my Penn State pick.
You think that Penn State offense is going to score against that Michigan defense?
They're going to have to get a first and goal because they're a run-first team.
Yep. I'm not a Michigan guy. I'm historically anti-Michigan. That's crazy.
Holy shit, that's a great stat. 6 games, not one
first and goal.
Fucking donut.
Yep.
Shit.
That's why Michigan's still number 2 on my list.
Oof. Damn.
Yep.
Yeah. No. I said last week I'd been disrespecting them all season, only because I do believe that Penn State beats them. We'll see. They got to get a first and goal if they're going to beat them. Like I said, they're a run-first team. You ain't beating Michigan expecting to score from fucking 12 out.
Nope. Not at all.
Oh, man.
I do have one more for the people this weekend.
Yes. Oh, yeah, buddy. Give the people what they want.
Tulane playing on the road at Memphis. They're 4.5-point favorites. Take the over in this game, folks. It's at 56. And I feel like Ryan.
Yeah, right.
The over's at 56. Memphis can score the ball. Michael Pratt is back. He came back last week, but he's back full time now from his injury.
Yep.
Probably take the 4.5. Definitely take the over. Shout out to Tulane though. That's like my secondary team. I don't know why I like them so much. Their gear is just sick.
Dude, their uniforms are unreal. That powder blue that they've got. Oh, it's so sick. And that sweatshirt you got there, man. I know I told you in the chat we've got going, but that thing is fucking sick.
Yep. That
thing is sick. All right, bud. Well, let's bring this thing to a close. Another great episode. I appreciate you. Good weekend upcoming. We've got some big time slate at 7 to 8 o'clock. Tune in if you're a college football fan, because that's going to be off the fucking charts. For Bentley and the rest of the family here at Backyard Sports, we